Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. Yes, this is the place where you can find the answers to your mental health, relationship, and family questions. I'm your host, Jim Hewitt. Glad you've tuned in today. I think you're going to find today's topic very interesting, so I hope you'll stay tuned because we'll be right back. All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. Glad that you've joined me again this week. I want to talk about something today that I think everybody, and I do mean that literally, everybody at one time or another experiences this. Some on a quite regular basis, some people on a daily basis, some people multiple times during the course of a week, some people even on a more chronic level. Well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about that thing that plagues all of us at one time or another, and that's worry. Worry. Are you a worrier? If I were to ask you if I could, see through the lens here and see you sitting there or driving along the road or whatever, and if I were to ask you, are you a worrier? Would you be the one that would just kind of, raise your hand? Yeah, I think all of us at some time or another find ourselves caught in this vicious cycle of worrying. Worrying is a lasting preoccupation. It's a preoccupation with a past event or future bad event. Now, nobody worries about something good, right? If we're anticipating something good happening, we don't worry about that. It's those bad things or those unpredictable kind of things. It's the type of thinking that makes you feel like you're reliving in a real way. You're reliving a past failure or a past event, or you have this sense of dread about something that you've just almost convinced yourself it's really going to happen. Worry bothers almost everybody periodically. Whenever you and I are facing problems, our minds will begin to address them, right? We begin to address those problems, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate the problem and how to deal with the problem. It's a wonderful thing about our brain. Whenever we have something that we're anticipating, maybe it's an event or a decision that we have to make, that our brain kind of kicks into gear. That's the way God created us, to think about those things that are future, but also worrying about those past events or those past circumstances or even past failures. And for some people, we kind of get into this vicious cycle over and over and over and over and over again. Well, listen, I want to give you 10 tips. I'm going to talk about 5 today and then 5 tips next week on how to deal with this thing of worry, because it's really like it's a silent gnawing kind of thing in our life, and so I want to help you figure out how to deal with worry. Now, maybe you're one of the few that you don't have any problems with worrying whatsoever. I mean, it's carefree. Your life is que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. It's not a big deal, and you just kind of glide through. Well, God bless you. God bless you. Those kind of people are few and far between. So if you're not somebody that is a chronic worrier, maybe you know somebody, maybe somebody in your family, or maybe a next door neighbor, or maybe a coworker, or maybe a fellow church member that just talks about they get up in the morning worrying and they go to bed at night worrying. They have trouble sleeping at night because of worry. I mean, worry just plagues them. And so I want to give you today 5 tips on how to deal with this silent killer, if you will, this thing called worry, and how to overcome that. Okay, so let's dive right in. I'm going to give you 5 today, and then 5 next week as well. All right. Number 1, In order to deal with and overcome this whole thing of worry, problem solve. Don't worry. Problem solve. Okay. Now this may involve taking out a sheet of paper and just jotting some things down. I think that really helps when we do that. We're facing an issue. We're facing a decision. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. Whether to move into a house or to build a house, something like that. Write that down, because see, worrying is a normal, very insufficient way of trying to problem solve. Because what happens is our brain gets into this mode of worry. Well, what if this, what if that, what if the other, what if that? No. When you worry, as best you can, try to turn it into useful problem solving. So I'm trying to decide whether to move to another house that's already built, or move to another house that's already built, or I'm going to build my own house. That's a heavy-duty decision that costs, in some cases maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a key thing. That's a heavy investment, and so you need to jot some things down on paper. You might want to look at what provides a useful guide as far as practical problem-solving skills. Many of the people that I see here in my office have not really developed over the years, have not developed good problem-solving skills. That's what we do as parents, right? We as best we can, we try to teach our children how to problem solve. We don't want to be the one that kind of swoops in and kind of like what's described as a helicopter parent, swooping in and trying to solve all of our kids' problems. No, because see, that's maybe what happened to us, that we were not allowed to develop that skill. And just like any other skill, it is a skill that's developed and practiced. Maybe there's going to be some failures and it's not going to work out well. Well, we learn from that and we go on and do something else. So problem solve. Don't worry about it. Number 2, don't waste time on the what if questions. What if questions, folks, will drive you nuts. It will drive you loony. Because there's no real answer to a what if. Well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, what if this? Well, what if that? And so what happens is our anxiety starts building and building and building and building and building, and then our mind gets all muddled up, and we have difficulty just kind of laying out a plan for how to problem solve. So don't waste time thinking up situations that might happen. Well, I can't really go outside today because it might rain. I can't really go jogging this morning because it might rain. Well, it might do this, it might do that, it might do the other, it might do this. Okay, well, what if it does rain? Okay, then you put it off. The rain, unless it's set in for the day, it's going to end. Maybe you don't go jogging today. Maybe you do something else. See that? So the what if questions will just absolutely muddle your brain up. As far as trying to figure out how to, what if we don't get the loan? Well, what if we don't get the house? Well, what if somebody buys it before me? Well, and we just sit there and we just spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. So don't waste time on the what if questions. The vast majority of scenarios that you and I create with this approach of what ifs will likely never happen. That's the whole thing about this. And see, so once we start the what ifs, then the worry kicks in, and then we have this vicious cycle over and over and over again, and our mind gets all muddled up and just focused not on the problem solving, but on what if this happens? Well, what if that does happen? Then what? So look at problem solving and look at stay away from the what if questions. Number 3, don't kid yourself that worry is always helpful. See, watch this. Some people worry because they don't have anything to worry about. and then they worry because they don't have anything to worry about, because they ought to have something to worry about, and then they worry about not having anything to worry about. See that vicious cycle? Don't kid yourself that worry is always helpful. Don't be fooled into thinking that well, I just have to worry about this because who else is going to worry about it? Somebody's got to worry about it. If you are a persistent worrier, then you've probably become used to worrying, simply kidding yourself that you're doing something about. Well, if I'm worrying, I've got to do something. I can't just sit here and be still and think and contemplate and do what I can, and what is out of my control is out of my control, and well, that may never happen. See, don't kid yourself that worrying is actually doing something. It's not. It's going to give you more gray hairs. It's going to cause all kinds of gastrointestinal issues, cardiac issues. There's often weight gain because of the cortisol that's involved in that. And so, worry and stress and the strain and what if this doesn't happen? Well, what if this does happen? It's just an endless cycle. Okay, so don't kid yourself that worrying is really helpful. That, well, I've just got to do something. Okay, number 4, and this is this is just a hard one. Okay, it's just hard, and I recognize that. And that is, learn to accept uncertainty. Learn to accept uncertainty. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. You may make plans. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with planning. I'm a person that likes to plan. But there's an old saying that says, "Man plans and God laughs." Okay, life is just uncertain. It's just a fact of life that life is uncertain, and so try to, as best you can, to accept. I'm going to make this plan. Here it is, Monday. I'm making plans for Thursday or Friday or for the weekend, and I'll make those plans, and that's good, and I'll have them even written down on paper or something. But life sometimes gets in the way. Unexpected things are going to happen. It's just going to happen. And so accepting it in the longer term will make your life a whole heck of a lot easier. And probably, if now I won't say this very loud. Okay, it will probably make you easier to live with, right? If you just accept that life is uncertain. And over the years, and I still struggle with that. I struggle with that. I like for things to be planned out. I like to get an agenda. I like to have all of that figured out, but life sometimes gets in the way, and it just happens. Begin to accept and deal with the uncertainty. It's just a part of life. No matter how much you worry about the uncertainty of life, life is uncertain. It'll continue to be uncertain. And so you might as well just accept that that's a part of life. Today is going to be different than yesterday, and tomorrow is going to be different than today. That there are things that you and I may plan on for tomorrow, or for the end of the week, or for the weekend, or even for maybe months from now. Maybe you're planning a vacation, and you're all excited. Here it is, springtime, and summertime's coming up. The kids are going to be out of school pretty quick, and you planned for a year on a 2-week vacation, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Life is just uncertain. And the more that you and I can accept that as a fact of life, the easier life is going to be for us, and the easier we will be to live with. Now, finally for today, number 5, is try as best you can to lift your mood. Nobody else is responsible for your mood. Did you realize that? Nobody else is responsible for your mood. Only you are. And so you can get up in the morning and look at things like in a negative way. You complain and complain and complain. Some people say it's like getting up on the wrong side of the bed. You're crabby, irritable, moody, crabby, cranky, all of that stuff. Negative moods fuel worrying. Okay, listen to that. Negative moods fuel worrying. Negative moods include such things as anxiety, sadness, anger, guilt, shame. Physical states like just being fatigued all the time, and pain throughout your body. I got a pain in my elbow, kind of thing. I got a pain right here. Wherever that might be, because remember, I've said this before, and I want to say it again here. This controls everything. This controls everything. Thoughts precede behavior. Thoughts precede behavior. And so if you get up of a morning and you say, you know what, this is the day that the Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it. And God, I'm thankful that you're going to walk with me and talk with me and be with me throughout the day. And it's me and you against the world. And whatever comes, I know that you're going to help work that out, and that you already have a plan for me. See, just saying that gives you a whole different perspective on your day and your week and your month and your year. If you must worry, I mean, it just wouldn't be a Monday without you worrying. Okay, if you must worry, then try to do so when these negative mood states are there, because your worrying will be more difficult to control and more difficult to stop when you're in a negative mood state. So if you try to do so when you're not in a negative mood, because that one fuels the other. You get that? One fuels the other. And so if you just have to worry, do not do so. Don't allow yourself to worry when you're in a negative mood, because it'll just drive you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. If you find yourself worrying in a negative mood, do something to lift your mood. Remember, you are responsible for your mood. Nobody else is. Nobody makes you feel a certain way. Nobody makes you have a negative mood. Nobody makes you worry. No, you decide to do that. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice. If you go about rejoicing, if you're listening to uplifting music, if you're getting outside, maybe working in the garden or working in your flower bed a little bit, doing those kind of things, it's going to lift your mood. You have to consciously, intentionally pay attention to doing that. See that? And so always try to find a way to lift your mood. Do something. The worst thing you can do is sit in your house and just kind of mope all day long. That's just not going to work. Now, I want to close down here. Now remember, I'm going to give you 5 more. So I've given you 5 tips today. I'm going to give you five more next week. But I want to close today with just these verses. Okay, and just kind of, if you're a person who worries, kind of let these verses soak in. The first one comes from Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 to 27. This is a very familiar passage. I'm going to put this up on the screen so you can see it and read along with me, okay? Therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor your body what you shall put on. Is not life more than food, and body more than clothing? Look to the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? And which of you, being anxious, shall add a single hour to his span of life? Now think about that. That's a tremendous word. What good does it do to worry and be anxious? Is it going to add a little bit more to your life? Is it going to solve the problem? No. Listen now to this verse. Again, I'm going to put this up on the screen for you. This comes out of Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. The Apostle Paul says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God. Do not be anxious for anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication. In everything. Don't be anxious. You and I cannot be anxious and happy at the same time. You and I cannot be worrying and be most of us cannot be happy and worrying at the same time. Okay? No, he says, do not be anxious about anything. Now, a third verse I want to give to you as we close down today, and again, I'm going to put this up on the screen for you. And this comes out of Romans chapter 8, verse 31. For if God be for us, who can be against us? Very simple verse. If God be for us, who can be against us? Now, when you think of these three verses, the one out of Matthew, and then out of Philippians, and then out of Romans, when you think of those verses, those speak a powerful message to you and me. And we've heard those, a number of times we've heard those, and maybe we've read them, or maybe we've even committed them to memory. But here's the thing, when you read those verses, they say the theme of all three of those verses, and many more that we could read, is don't be anxious about anything. Don't be anxious. 1 Peter says, cast all your care upon him. Your anxiety, your cares, your concerns, your worries, for he cares for you. You see that? So that's an important message, is that when you're thinking about how in the world do I stop worrying about things, look to these three verses, and again, there's many more, but look to these three verses and let them just kind of speak to you. Let them teach you how to be a non-worrier, or maybe worry less. How about that? Worry less than you have been, that you are currently. Okay, so think about those things. Worry is just an awful thing. Isn't it about time that you start enjoying your life? Isn't it about time that you start experiencing the wonder of every day, that God has allowed you to awaken yet for another day and to experience all that he has in store for you? But see, you can't do that and worry at the same time. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to, sometime during the course of the week, go back and replay this. Go back and replay this. Share this with your friends. You can if you're watching on Facebook, just share that. I'm sure if you're not a person that worries, I'm sure you know someone that worries, and this can be very, very helpful to them. And so I want you to stay tuned next week, because we're going to finish up with 5 more points about how to worry less. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. If something I have shared with you today has raised some questions, there's 3 ways that you can contact me. The first one is by telephone. You can reach me at my office by dialing 573-732-4575. Again, that's 573-732-4575. The second way that you can contact me is through email. My email address is lifelineonline@hotmail.com. Again, that's all one word, lifelineonline@hotmail.com. The third way is, if you're watching this by Facebook, you can private message me. I have people do that occasionally. Give me your contact number, or you can ask a question through private message. I promise you I will get back to you. I want to help you to be not a worrier, but an enjoyer. Okay? So you stay tuned. I'll see you right back here next week, right here on Lifeline for Daily Living.